TAFS is leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. Loadbase is a logistics software solution that simplifies the process of tracking carriers. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How's it going?
Going good, man. Warming up in Minnesota in the 40s. 2 golf courses are open this weekend. Can't complain. How about you? How's you guys get rid of the snow in Birmingham?
Yeah, it's going to be in the 70s on Sunday, so it's actually warming up down here.
Well, you better be on the
It's
golf
still
course.
considered 40 cold down here.
Yeah, no, 70 would be much better. But yeah, today should be fun, man. I'm excited for today's episode. Before we get into it, obviously, shout out to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card. Been around since 1978. They're sponsoring an event over at Manifest. So if you're in Manifest, go check out their event Monday night. Hit up Patricia, Jessica, if you're looking to learn more. I know a popular guest of ours, Jamie, is a big advocate for Multi-Service Fuel Card. Black Box Logistics, who are they? I don't know. I've never heard of them.
They're a great freight brokerage, Birmingham, Alabama, the Magic City. That's what my shirt says. So if you have any freight that you're looking to get moved, then we've got Loadbase. I actually did a demo with Loadbase today to get a more in-depth understanding of their product. Man, it's really cool stuff. Most of the tracking that's available today, at least what we use at Black Box currently, is it pings like every 15 minutes we get an update. Loadbase provides real-time updates, so it's live. That was what stood out. Yeah, it's what stood out the most to me. It's really, really slick software. It was my first time really getting a deep dive beyond just looking at the website. So yeah, definitely hit up Stan and those guys if you're looking to explore tracking options or just compare it to what you're currently using. It's a pretty impressive product that they built over there.
Yeah, no, definitely. HD Ships, where I recruit agents. Obviously, if you're looking to be an agent, I'd love to talk to you. Sales Dash CRM. The OG sponsor from before episode 1. Obviously, Will's company uses Sales Dash. We have some agents that use Sales Dash, freight specific CRM. Can't say enough good things about Sales Dash and Josh.
Yeah, I love Sales Dash. Like Matt said, we use it in office, and we've gone through quite a few over the years. And I don't think that will ever be changing. Like Matt said, it's freight centric, so it's built out with a purpose, and then even just swapping at things from an admin standpoint, what I do with it, it's fantastic. Our reps love it. And then we've got our banner sponsor, TAFS, factoring company. So if you guys are looking for a factoring company or just looking to learn more about factoring in general, they've got a lot of good educational content on their website. Hit up Ryan for more info, or Rob. Great guys over there.
Yeah, we always forget Trio too, which we shouldn't. I mean, they do all of our back end. They do great with our weekly posts. A lot of the posts from a Two Dogs page are created by them. So shout out to them. Hit up JJ if you're looking into nearshoring.
100%. All right. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah, we got a fun guest today. I mean, obviously, he's been around the industry for years, tons of experience. It's a small world. He actually knows the owners of HD Ships pretty well. He just recently got a new role too. And yeah, it should be a fun conversation.
Yeah, it's an individual I personally don't know, but I've seen him all over LinkedIn for the longest time. It seems like he's always got his hands in something exciting and is just kind of always in the mix. So we're excited to bring him on. Without further ado, we'll bring Lars onto the stage.
How's it going?
Hey guys.
Hey, happy Friday. Thanks for coming on. We're excited.
Friday. Thanks for the introduction. I wouldn't mind you guys popping me up before most things in life. That was nice. I appreciate it.
Hey, we can arrange that. We appreciate you taking the time, man. Where we usually get started, if you would, just kind of give us a breakdown on how you got into freight logistics, and then kind of just run us through. I mean, like I said in the intro, you've got some really cool experience. Have worked with some exciting companies. Just like to hear about that, how you stumbled into it from inception to now.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I would just say, big picture, the industry is all about relationships, right? Matt, I love how you mentioned the fellows over at HD Ships. Glenn and Josh are two of my favorite people in the business, but we're all very lucky. We work in an industry where I feel like everybody knows each other a little bit. And sometimes I've heard it, said we are the smallest big industry or the biggest small industry, however you want to frame it. My experience has been all about relationships. So I got into the business back in 2012. A good friend of mine was working at Night Transportation, and I got started there. What a great company to get started at, right? This is the Night Transportation before Night Swift. This is Night before they acquired Abilene, bar none, Swift, and of course the LTL tear that they've been on. And so I got to be part of the organization for almost 10 years, a couple of different roles. But I left Night Swift in 2021. At that time, I was the director of sales for the brokerage business. I was really focused on helping to get Power Only off the ground. I had started an inside sales team. I was helping to coach and develop about 50 outside sales reps who are primarily focused on selling the asset services, and was really helping them to sell the brokerage services a little bit better. Back in 2021, had left to be one of the founding team members of Freightvana. It was a fast-growing asset-based brokerage. I was there for about 3 years. left last year in 2024 to go be at Chima Freight Lines. Was really good friends and still am with Harman Chima, the CEO. He's one of the best operators in the business. And what he's built over there after almost 20 years of operating as a 500 truck fleet, growing brokerage, and I had an opportunity to help lead sales, customer service, some of the industry partnerships, and really make an impact on operations as well. What a totally great experience there. But then, as you guys mentioned, I made a big change this week. So just announced that on LinkedIn, but recently joined Transflo as the VP of Automation Solutions. And so we'll get into that, but I am so lucky. Transflo is a company where I know a lot of great people. There's a phenomenal leadership team. And for me, hey, here's the big change. My customer for the last 13 some odd years has been the shipper who's looking to go get freight services, right? And now I get to go and serve brokers and carriers so that they can go do work over the road and do that really well. And I'm even, a little bit more here. I was a 2-time customer of Transflo. I saw how some of their products work, the impact it made. So for a guy like me, where I know some of the folks at Transflo, I've seen the product as a customer. Now I get to go bring that to the industry. I'm super excited.
Did you know anything kind of backing up, like when you got into Knight Swift? Did you have any idea of like what the transportation industry was like, or just like your buddy was working there, so you're like, well, might as well give it a shot? Or what was kind of your background getting into it?
Yeah, what a good question. And I knew nothing about the transportation industry. So I had graduated a little bit before that from Arizona State University. Had looked at a couple of other jobs that were local here in the Phoenix area. But hadn't found the thing that, I was really excited about or interested in. And so around that time, I had started a graduate program at ASU. Seeing if I had more degrees and some pieces of paper, I'd probably figure out what I wanted to do. And, it was a professional program, so the classes were all in the evening. And my friend who was at Knight just said, hey, I think you should come over here. And my original intention was I would just stay there until I got my master's degree and then figure out something that was more interesting. And thankfully, that was enough time to get really established at Knight. Had some cool opportunities with them. Was able to move out to New Jersey and continue sort of progressing in my career. And now, just looking back on it, I'm so glad that I found a home in this industry, right?
How different was it back then? I mean, we're obviously going to get into automation later and what you do with Transflo, but how different was the day-to-day like operations of like a customer service, a sales rep back in like 2012? I mean, it's kind of weird to me. That was the year I graduated high school. It's hard to believe that's 13 years ago, but how was it back back then compared to now?
I think the core of what we deliver, as an industry doesn't change, right? If you're a logistics service provider, what you are in is a service business, and it's having the domain expertise around how your network or how your brokerage can deliver value to that shipper, right? And doing that consistently over a long period of time is really how you create that reputation. So that piece doesn't change. Now, like the ins and outs of how it works, like, hey, here's what I'll tell you. When I started, I didn't get a laptop. I had a big tower PC, and man, it was nerve-wracking coming into the morning and tracking your loads to see what was going on, right? And so there are some of those moments that just feel funny to me, and a lot of folks still operate off like the AS400 green screens, but that would probably be foreign to most folks who haven't been in the industry too long. So a lot of the technology was pretty bad. So some of those things I think have changed very quickly. But I think the core things don't change. It's just how we get to do that and how we put those pieces together. It gets better through technology. So yeah, there's some things I definitely don't miss about the kind of the old days of when I got started.
Yeah, that had to be a fun time for sure. I can't imagine, and not even be able. I mean, I'm sure obviously smartphones are around, but probably not a lot of work was done on the phones in terms of tracking, not calling,
right.
Obviously, not like tracking. Now, so much you can do from your phone, not even your computer.
So yeah, you're totally right. And all right. So like, let's rewind the tape. Back to that period. What we saw in the early 2010s and on was a huge level of tech investment in the industry, right? So mobile applications really, just taking off. You saw a lot of brokerage kind of come into the industry because that technology allowed for more folks to go and compete. So it was a super exciting time. And, I think that, we're seeing a lot more of that come around today, right? With some of the AI technologies, some of the things where before it used to feel like this. If you were one of the large shops, you had technology to offer. And if you weren't one of the large shops, right, you really had to make everything up, through your relationships and through your work, through your effort, right? And so I think technology has leveled the playing field a little bit. There's still some disparities that we can see. But the transformation that I think we saw over the last 10 years was really exciting. And now we're kind of entering a new phase all over again, post-pandemic, post some of the, kind of failures from the VC run of the last 10 years. And so now I think we've, kind of changed as an industry. We're seeing technology a little bit differently. And it feels like there's a new kind of tranche of momentum that's about to begin.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like technology itself, as it advances, the advances compound, so then it's quicker, right? So you look back 10 years, and when we look back 10 years from now, I'm sure that the advances will be a lot greater from a macro level, at least. I want to ask you about your experience from the asset side and then the brokerage side. So you kind of alluded to the fact that, like fundamentals are timeless. It's a service industry, but what's your perspective on selling from the brokerage at Freightwana to Knight-Swift? Which do you enjoy more? What's your practices there?
Yeah. So here's something that I think a lot of folks would find interesting, right? If you're in a brokerage environment, you might envy the asset provider thinking, gosh, that sales cycle has to be really, really easy because you're cold calling shippers and they say, yeah, we're not onboarding brokers, right? Or we don't need another broker. All right. You go into an environment where you have trucks, you might hear the exact same thing, right? It's, we're not onboarding new providers. Or, hey, we're in an environment, and this is starting to change, but we're in an environment where my tender acceptance is great. I'm able to find competitive cost, and my KPIs are being met, right? So all those things are true. Think about the change process for a buyer of transportation. What motivation, what leverage, what power do you have, or that they don't have to go through a change process? So truth is, last couple of years, I think if you're selling in a very standard way, you probably haven't been very successful, right? At least with new business. So there are a lot of differences. There are a lot of nuances. In a sense, having an asset network is pretty pure to understand how many trucks, what utilization, what geography. And then if you've done your homework, you can package that up to a shipper and help them make a really good decision about whether or not you'd be a good candidate to be a part of their business. With a brokerage, it starts to feel a little bit fuzzier, right? What do you specifically do that they don't have from their current providers? And if you don't have clarity on that, you probably haven't created enough motivation for that shipper to say, yeah, look, of course I need to onboard you, or at least give you that opportunity, right? And so I don't think, it kind of goes back to the idea of like the industry in some ways changes a lot, but it really doesn't change at all, and that we're delivering a service. I would say the same is true for how we think about selling brokerage or selling asset, right? If you have clarity on how you're differentiated or where your value propositions, are, I think there's always going to be an opportunity. It's been a tough freight market, but if you have clarity around that, I think you can be successful either way.
Yeah. I like the line that, it changes a lot, but it really doesn't change at all. Yeah.
Does it give you easier to I'm always curious, and you've been in the industry for a while, so you're a great person to ask with your experience, but do you think it gives you an advantage in terms of just knowledge? I'm sure, when you're at Knight-Swift, you've interacted with drivers, you have a more understanding of what goes through a driver's day and being able to use that to sell. I would think that might give you an advantage. So a lot of people that, never work on the asset side, they just work on the brokerage side. And, I would think that side might give you like a more understanding of the industry as a whole that would help with selling.
Yeah. No, what a great point. So it might be easier to find in an asset environment, but I've met plenty of folks who work in asset trucking companies who really don't know the ins and outs of what happens over the road, right? So Matt, what you're really getting to is the education problem. Like, do you know what it's like? Do you know what you're selling? And do you know how the ins, what are the inputs of how the business comes together, right? So I do think I had an advantage working in an environment where we had assets and a brokerage. I got to see both sides of that, how they work together, what was better about the fleet, what was better about our brokerage offering, and then bringing that to shippers. But the education process, that is something that most companies need to spend more time on, right? Even we probably all had the moment where we were this person, or we were talking to somebody who didn't know what the heck they were talking about. That's a massive problem. I remember
More of a problem now, you think, than it was in 2012?
Sorry, say that again?
It's more of a problem now than it was in 2012.
Is it more of a problem? Yeah, probably more of a problem. Like, if we're being real, because as the industry has expanded and as there's more competition, right? I think there are a lot of shops that really have to have that kind of speed to market, and they really want to go through effort. But if you spend more time on the front end, kind of learning what you're doing and having the experience, I think that's invaluable. And so I was just going to share. I remember when I was at night, and the first time I learned about a bobtail, right? But the first time I learned about it was when a customer called me saying, "Why the heck did you drive a bobtail?" Okay. Now keep in mind, I have no idea what this means. So I'm on the phone. Why did you do that? I don't know, right? And so you're kind of like, I'm fumbling through it, trying to figure it out. That experience sucks for a shipper. Like, I was so disappointed, right? And they're on the other side of that conversation, thinking the person who's there to take care of my business doesn't know what they're doing, right? And so sometimes those battles, sometimes those learnings are hard fought, and we learn kind of through the anti-experience. But yeah, it's like, I think you're just getting to the big point. Like, man, we have to have the education, we have to have experience, because when we have that and you put the work effort behind it, you know what your product is. I think that's where we start to find success, right? Until then, you're just, you're a warm body trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Well said.
I mean, I guess kind of going to it in the tech. So obviously you're on the brokerage side, the asset side. You've been in the industry for a while. What made, now kind of the time, 13 years in, hey, I want to go sell technology? I know you alluded to the fact that, they've been a customer of yours, but what kind of led to making the jump to the other side?
So having been a customer of Transflo before, I think is a really, really special thing. If you're an operator in the business, brokerage, asset, hybrid, you've probably worked with technology providers who've never sat in your seat, right? That's okay. But we were just talking about how important the experience is and how important the education is for that dynamic between the provider and the shipper, right? Hopefully I can bring that same experience to the brokers and carriers that I would serve, because I've sat in their seat, I've seen what they're saying, and I've also seen the value of what Transflo has to offer. So I say that'd be the first thing, being able to join a team that has products I believe in. That's super important to me, and something I think is very special. Also talked about the management team at Transflo, some of the leaders who are part of the company. Man, we've got an awesome team at Transflo. So that got me really excited. We also look, Transflo is a legacy business in our industry with an incredible reputation. So that piece is exciting. On top of that, with some of the products we're doing, especially from a workflow automation, it feels like a hypergrowth startup. And having both of those things at the same time, that's pretty unique and pretty rare to find. You put it all together, and in having conversations with the team, I was like, man, this is a no-brainer. I definitely want to be part of it.
Yeah. 100%.
What is maybe for anyone in the audience, and I'll be honest too, I've heard the name Transflo, but I don't know exactly what Transflo does. Maybe I don't know if it's similar to a Tabby Connect, an ARVL type of product, or more like a Parade. I just know it's automation, but I guess for people like me who, are still learning about Transflo, I've heard the name. I mean, what do you guys exactly do in the automation space?
Yeah. So, okay, specific on automation, I'll get to that. But what I would tell you is hey, Transflo has solutions all the way from the cab to the back office. Now, if you're thinking, legacy Transflo, you're really thinking about documents. We process more documents than anybody else. We're over 1 billion documents a year. And so when it comes to that space, we are the clear leader in the industry. Now, there's a lot of other things that we do to connect the cab, connect the back office, and really create an ecosystem for our partners. So we have a lot of different solutions, but automation, I know we've said that a lot. It means different things to different people in different contexts. When we talk about automation, we're really talking about the freight audit process. So you're a broker and you're getting invoices from your carriers for the work that they did. How do you process them, right? For most shops, they do that very manually, where you're going through and you're validating against your order data, this carrier, this pickup date, this pro number? Did I get a bill of lading? Do I have all the supporting documents? Right? Like, am I ready to invoice my shipper? And your carrier wants to get paid in between. Now, I don't know about you, but you ever had a carrier invoice you the wrong amount, wrong accessorials, and everything else in between? Going through that in the back office takes a lot of work. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to give your carrier a bad experience by having everything get, denied and getting, their pay held up, things like that. Plus, it's a very labor-intensive process. So think about Transflo. We see more documents than anybody else. We're able to classify, extract, and really turn that data into something that's usable. And with the workflow AI product for brokers, I mean, we're seeing automation that no one else sees, meaning that everything passes through the rules that we've created, flows through automatically, and just does a bang up job at making the back office a lot more seamless. And then, hey, there's some other benefits too. For a lot of brokers, you feel the pain of how much cash you're floating, right? And so if I can improve your speed to cash and get your DSO down, that starts to make a meaningful improvement in your business as well. So when we think about automation, really think about the back office and turning that into, from a pain point to something that just works.
We got a question here from John. He says, I was familiar with Transflo terminal services. I believe you're working for a different Transflo, correct?
No, same. So good question. Same Transflo. There's a lot of things we do. So a lot of folks, and hey, I've seen this before too. If you go to a truck stop, you're going to go see one of those scanning terminals for the trip packs. That's how a lot of drivers, especially for asset fleets, get their paperwork to their fleet. They can also do that on our mobile app. But hey, look, we want to meet our drivers where they live and give a lot of different options for how they get to, work with us. So same Transflo.
Yeah, very cool. So I kind of want to backtrack, not too much, but you had mentioned with your experience in taking it into on the software side. So my experience has been with some people or some companies that they get into freight tech, but without the actual freight experience. And then the products, idealistically, they're great. But then when you get down to, like realistically or practical, like the usage, it's just not there. So I admire that perspective on it, from going from one seat to this seat and being able to provide that perspective and value.
I'm really glad you see that, because, hey, look, like, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm the newbie at Transflo, right? So I've had a couple of conversations and I've seen customers, I've seen prospective customers really resonate with that message. I hope that they find value in it. At the end of the day, it's important that I have the technical knowledge and what we offer, can show them a clear ROI. And if we have a better mousetrap, I like our chances as far as growing what we do from the automation side. Being able to speak to the real experiences I've had, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, going back to 2007 Knightsfoot to now, automation.
2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, man, I'm looking a little older, right? There's some grays coming in, and I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. I mean, and then I don't know, considering how many bodies somebody might need to employ to go through all that paperwork,
yeah,
that it does it much quicker and to be frank, more accurate. I mean, there's certain things that we've had a few people on that are in the automation space, and they've had some really good points for the pros for automation. We do a little bit of automation at Black Box, nothing with auditing, but no, I'm bullish on automation as a whole for our industry.
I feel like we're seeing so much more conversation about automation generally, a lot of it because of AI, but specifically for our industry, right? So, here's one of the stories that I've heard that I think makes a huge impact, right? I could have a back office team doing manual freight audit all day long, or, right, you could redeploy, because, hey, maybe you reduce your headcount, and that's fine. You want to be lean, mean, and efficient, everything you do, no doubt. But what if you were to take some of those same people and focus on your onboarding process? I was talking to a broker and they said, hey, like, we're losing out on freight because we can't, onboard effectively. Okay. Or how about your rate publication process? How's that going? Right? There are so many other benefits where we can deploy people in work that's hard to automate. Let us automate the piece that we're great at, And I think if you're a transportation, sort of SaaS business coming to the market with that message, I think right now it's really going to resonate.
Yeah, we had Nick Dangle on, and he had a one-liner that really stuck out to me when thinking about automation, and we were talking about automation replacing jobs, and and I'm not gonna say it verbatim. I don't really remember, but it was something along the lines of that technology doesn't eliminate jobs; it creates new jobs. So that makes me think of like what you're saying, right? So you replace this task that they're doing, and then you use that labor towards something else to actually create value for the organization. Speaking of that's comment about Johnny says we're talking about the importance of onboarding and training.
What do you think the future of accounting roles are, though? I mean, I agree with Nick's statement, but I do think there's going to be some roles that are going to be a lot easier to, replace with automation and AI than other roles. I mean, where do you see the future of accounting roles in transportation?
Well, I think the work that can be automated probably will be, right? There's a part of that I think does sound a little bit worrisome from a high level, right? It's like, well, shoot, if this could be automated, then my job's going to change. But I venture to bet like the things that you guys spend most of your time doing probably didn't exist 10 years ago. Same way this job didn't exist 10 years ago, right? And so here's what we know: like change is a constant in our industry. We're fighting for efficiency. When I think about what the future looks like, I'm really just parroting some of the lines that I've heard but have resonated with, which is basically this: like, technology has created more jobs than it's destroyed, right? So when you look at how the internet has come about, now AI might be a little bit different. Maybe it won't be. There are things that we probably don't even think about or expect yet that will totally create something that's different from what we've seen. And I think the value of the creative work, the hard to automate kind of work, that's probably the stuff that we like doing more anyway. So how that relates to accounting, Matt, I don't know, but I'll give you an example. And I think I've seen you post about this on LinkedIn, which I think is kind of funny. So you're a chess player, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. My uncle played professional chess for a long, long time.
What was his rating?
Like 2,700, maybe.
Oh,
higher.
wow. That's like top 100 in the world type.
He's a legend.
Oh yeah, no, he was the U.S. champion for a long, long time. But get this, so this is an anecdotal story, but I love it. Listen, computers have been better than people at chess for almost 20 years. He remembers when IBM beat his buddy Gary Kasparov in the 90s, and you would think it's like, all right, that's it, game over. Who's ever gonna care about this again? And that specific sport has boomed in popularity since then, right? So
especially during COVID, I mean, now there's streamers that make a ton of money just streaming chess on Twitch, which is wild. You never would have thought
that. Accountants streaming like their exception queue, and that'll be their future.
What's your uncle's name?
Yasser Sarawan.
Oh, he's one of the greatest commentators. He commentates the U.S. Championship. I've heard him. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, he's good people, and so, but like just a small story, right? Like that kind of anchors like this bigger truth. We have seen technology, and I love that example because that's something that happened 20 years ago through complex machine learning algorithms, right? Where the computational power that IBM had to throw behind that was massive. Today, that's an app on your phone that still will kick your butt.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. Ultimately, I think that the innovation it makes us better as a whole, as an industry, more efficient. I'm excited about it. In the future, but like we said, like we don't really know, right? Like fast forward 10 years, we don't know what it'll look like.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think so if we take this approach of like, hey, we're excited about the technology that's coming, we want to be really exploring what's out there, finding that advantage. I think that's where we're going to find the winners.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the worst thing to do is to stay close-minded to it and really fight it, and then be left behind. Whether or not this is just me speaking freely, right? I'm not speaking for the dogs, but if I just fight, the automation, the AI, like all this stuff, and I just stay ignorant to it, is most likely going to get to a point where I didn't evolve, and now I'm like way behind and I can't keep up. Whereas I think the company is embracing it to an extent, maybe not over leveraging it. A lot of the stuff I've seen probably isn't ready for practical rollout, but for the most part, that's, at least for us, the small things that we've done over the past year, 18 months with some automation has really improved us as an organization. So
let me ask you, what are some of the automations you're excited about?
So, I mean, what we're currently using is mainly rate automation. So linking to bid boards, tender acceptance, and then automating reports, man. So this is a new project, and I hadn't even thought of, man, this all started. I had, I mean, it was like 10 p.m. on a Tuesday or something. I'm just racking my brain. I finally posted on LinkedIn. I was like, Freight Tech Bros, like we're WYA ? And somebody messaged me, Chad Olson, ADRL guy, and I started talking to him. And what I wanted to do, the first use case was linked to my main shipper, which I was currently working at the time. My company was bootstrapped and got started as a sales agency, and I was spending the majority of my time just a slave to this board, just refreshing, quoting, accepting, and the task of transferring, kind of that tribal knowledge, how to work this account to somebody else was just daunting. And I was too preoccupied. So I was looking to just convert my brain into automations, right? And he helped me do that. And then I was like, it opened up all these doors, man. For like the first month, I'd sit there looking at the webhook, watching it work. And I was like, this is fantastic. The best thing is the automation doesn't get sick or sad or like take a day off. It's there every day and it's working exactly how it's supposed to. But from there, so rate-based stuff, and there's a few other boards, internal rates as well, man. If I get new reps trying to teach them how to quote, or I can build out an automation and a platform, a GUI, where they can go in, type it, get the rate, how I would quote it, or how we want to price as an organization. But automating reports. So we've been pulling from all these different things, our TMS, like our ADP, payroll, Ring Central, like all this stuff, pulling all these manual reports, and we're getting them to build a dashboard through Power BI to just have on the desktop. And that saves, my operations manager, my general manager, hours every week, and then daily just tracking everything. So we're still on the more, I don't want to say, just like the kind of basic stuff. We're not doing anything crazy, right? Just automating these manual tasks that we don't want to do. We're trying to transfer this tribal knowledge to institutional knowledge.
Yeah. No, I love that story. Some of the automations you're working on, I think, are some of the really exciting ones out there. There's so much more, right? Mm-hmm. But now that was happening 5-7 years ago, right? So now that's starting to come in, like think about how transformative that's been to your business, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's your ICP? Sorry, go ahead, Will. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just curious if it's easier to sell like to a company like Will size 50 million for like Transflo, or if it's how it goes selling to, $1 billion brokerages who might be more resistant to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So let's just turn this into a demo, right? Will, the LOI is on the way over, and no, here's the thing, right? Like, so there's, as we think about the cost, we're really looking at some of the bigger brokerage shops out there. We think that's where they're going to see the biggest bang for their buck. But even my short time here at Transflo, we started, as we were having the conversations, we're seeing that the mid-market brokers, they have an absolutely great use case for what we're doing. At $50 million, it's, it would make sense. Now, is the change process different? No, I don't think so. I think all the work that we go through, how we scope it out, and what you would expect for us to deliver, I think all of that looks very similar, right? So there was, it's kind of an interesting idea or principle. If you go and ask a shipper for 1 load, it's very similar to asking them for 10 loads. Now, I think we probably all heard crawl, walk, run, and I believe in that, But to an extent, if you're going to trust, once you've established some level of trust, if you're asking for something small, you're asking for something big, you're still making an ask, right? Mm-hmm. So Matt, to your point, I don't think the sales process looks terribly different. It gets more complex. There's a few more things to add, but most of the mechanics look very similar.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, look, if I've got a better mousetrap and I can save you money and give you a better process, save you on your back office labor, get you faster speed to cash. If I can do that, I know that my customers are going to be happy.
Well, it's got to be a difference for you too, getting to the decision makers. Obviously, when you're selling on the asset side, brokerage side, getting a hold of shippers, now you got to figure out how to get a hold of technology people at brokerages.
What's nice is I saw all those folks selling to me over the last couple of years, right? So kind of seeing some of the messaging that works, what doesn't work. I think it's very similar to what I was doing before. Clarity on the message, clarity on who that profile is. So, think a leader within the business, typically someone who's, responsible for the back office. What I will tell you is that early on, a lot of my sales connections are already acting as champions, which is so freaking cool. Yeah. So if I've had a friend at another organization who, was on the sales side, they've been reaching out, how can I help you? Because if you can make our business better, I want that. So that's cool.
Yeah, it makes the sales much easier when you've You got we do it with just the brokerage, the referrals, but really like talking about championing somebody, like a friend, somebody that will really endorse you and get you in, especially if you have a product that truly does add value. That's very cool.
What about, we're talking about like messaging, and we were just talking pre-show about Manifest coming up, and you see a lot of posts on that, and, so many technology companies now. I mean, what are some, like, I guess, good and bad outreaches you've seen from tech salespeople, whether it be at conferences or outside of conferences, when you were in the other seat receiving it?
All right. So we could spend, how long do you guys have, right, on bad outreach? Okay. You guys want to hear one hack that I really did like?
Yeah,
maybe I can use this again. Ooh, I should. All right. So one of my favorite hacks, I would ask some of the shippers that I developed a friendship with. I would just say, hey, would you mind sending me the outreaches you get from other brokers? I just want to be a student of the game. And so at a couple, they said, I'll turn the fire hose on. And I'd see shipper, so I was just getting every message forwarded. At one point, I had one shipper probably got 100 messages in a week, like legitimately. Mm-hmm. Here's what I would tell you. 90% of them are crap. Like, they're just bad. They are mass communication, whether they're sent through an email tool or copy pasted. There's no level of homework that was done. And it's some version of better, faster, cheaper, right? So those messages, like, straight to the trash, my opinion. The tech side, I've seen the exact same thing, right? Like, I personally seen that. It's like, hey, like, reaching out about the wrong kind of solution, the wrong kind of tool, or, if I represented what would have been an enterprise customer for them, they could have very quickly done research to see how their product would specifically help or work with the other ecosystem of things that we had, or they could see, hey, we're probably not a good fit because we just made a buying decision for someone else. We're probably in a long-term contract. If you want to show up and develop a relationship, fine. But if you're showing up with the pitch slap, you're not going to get anywhere. So I think effectively, there's just a lot of lazy salespeople who do bad messaging. I am a big fan, and I have been a long time, of quality over quantity. I've had this argument with people before because, to an extent, sales is a numbers game, right? I'm not saying have the best quality for one message a day. Of course not, right? There's a balance there. But as soon as your quality drops off, you really have to question your process. And the question probably becomes, like, how do you scale the quality of what you do, right? There's some sort of like magic lines that intersect where the quality is still there and you've got the quantity. When you're doing that, you're probably on the right path. So that would be maybe from more of a cold outreach standpoint. I am trying as much as possible to leverage my network, use referrals, and kind of escape that completely cold mindset. So that's something that I like. And, Matt, then you mentioned the piece about conferences. Man, I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but people who they don't even have a relevant message. They're just reaching out saying we should connect, right? And I think at a conference, like, conferences are a really, really cool opportunity because we've all agreed that being at the same place at the same time is valuable, right? So I think if you show up with like the real intention of networking and providing value, you'll be fine. So some of the best conference connections I've had started where I didn't have anything to offer, but over time and developing it and having follow-up, turned into some of the biggest deals I've been a part of. So I think it's the same idea with the cold outreach folks. If you're not doing the homework, you're not doing the follow-up the right way, you haven't put the time into it, you're not going to be successful. Thankfully for everybody listening, that is 90% of what happens. So the best way to stake out is just don't do the crap, and you're already on your way to being successful.
It's interesting you say that you see the same thing on the tech side. Because I guess I always thought that the tech sellers would generally be better than the brokerage sellers because the brokerage, there's a lot of people right out of college, no sales experience, mass hiring at some of these brokerages. But generally in tech sales, there's a lot more requirements to get into it and experience. I would think that it would be better, but it's interesting to hear that it's pretty much about the same, 90% trash.
Well, I would say
maybe I'm being harsh, but that's okay.
I would almost argue that it's almost not even argue, but a lot of it's almost earning your stripes, right? Like you get started and like you probably aren't capable. Say you are like a young kid that's hired for a brokerage, like you're not capable of the quality, right? But then you're somebody like Lars who's been in the industry for a very long time and has this network he can leverage. So it's almost like earning your stripes through the the quantity so that you can get to a point where you have the quality and then the connections to leverage that. Because does that make sense? It's kind of tough to just like come in day one. Like a lot of these people are just trying to get some traction, get their feet wet, and they need a little bit of experience. So they need some of the stuff to happen where the shipper calls and says, "Why is your trailer bobtailing?" You know, they need that experience to grow and build off of. So I think it's just part of it with any sales, man. Like whether it's freight or anything outside, you know, like the cold calls, like your first cold calls, they're going to be shit, you know, and they should be getting better over time.
Yeah, no, you're spot on, right? And it kind of gets, you know, to one of the principles that I think is, you know, general across any type of sale, and that it's, you know, we want to do business with people that we like and that we trust. You know, product aside, right? And sometimes you got to use a product that maybe you don't like the people there. Okay, fine. Maybe they've just got the best mousetrap in the world. But in a world where you can choose to work with people you like, right? Like there's kind of a magic thing that happens there. So part of that is just, you know, building up that relationship and having the knowledge about their business or about the industry, because without it, I think it's really hard to build that relationship or gain access. So you put all those things together, and I think that's where, you know, I have found success personally.
What you're talking about makes me think. So I think that there's this, I don't even want to say misconception, but maybe with freight brokers specifically, and maybe it's relevant to other sales in the industry, right? Okay, you get the first load. Okay, you got a load, but you don't have a customer, right? And Lars, from just listening to you speak for the past 47 minutes, you seem to be somebody who is most likely really good at building that relationship and building that, like for me at least, because I'm a broker, I'm going to speak in broker terms, like the load share of the customer being ingrained, you know, and then you leave one company and like you still have that relationship. It seems to me that you're very good at that, growing the relationship. And I think that there's this short time frame mindset of a lot of brokers of just like the load, and then it's like, okay, load moves, and then it's like over, and now I expect them to just come give me all their loads because I moved this like one shitty like hot shot load, you know, 1 week ago.
No, it's well, one, hey, I appreciate you saying that. You know, I really do take a lot of pride and try to build relationships. Going through a job change, like you go and announce something on LinkedIn. I have been overwhelmed with gratitude, just like people reaching out, like quick text messages, phone calls, messages on LinkedIn, right? Sharing some good words. And what was really special, not just seeing like the industry, right? Because like I think brokers and carriers sort of show up and support each other, but having a lot of shippers reach out and just say, hey, like we appreciated working with you, and we're wishing you success. Like that to me, wow, like that is such a cool moment from the network. And I think for everybody listening, right, there's your network is your net worth, right? It's through the constellation of people who are a part of your network, right, that you find the opportunities that you have, right? And you can create the success. I mean, even look at the two of you guys, right, doing this pod, right? That is something about the network effect where, you know, 1 + 1 is 3, you know? And so I'm a huge believer in networks, and I've had such a cool way to experience that this week.
So your post blew up. I think you had like 600 likes about
your job. It's crazy.
So I'm not surprised a lot of people reached out. Well,
no, it's super special. Like I don't take any of that for granted. Like I was very humbled by it.
Now the real question is, how many people asked you about your shipper relationships now that you're outside of tech? How many of those messages?
I've had a few. You know, and it's one of those things where the shipper relationships, like, hey, I take a lot of pride. I've made a few transitions from different providers, assets, brokers, you know, and it's kind of cool. I had someone frame it up for me this way, which I thought was cool. I've worked for large publicly traded mega carriers. I've worked for family-owned businesses. I've worked for startups. I've worked for, you know, at Transport America, it was the owned subsidiary of a Canadian-owned company. I've kind of seen some different places, but something I do take pride in, many of the shipper relationships that I have started at different companies have lasted for years after me, meaning we were able to find areas where my network was, you know, whether that was in the asset network or the brokerage network that I had to offer, you know, met or exceeded their expectations. It did it at the right cost, and they found value. And so, you know, I had one shipper this was a while back. It wasn't this last year. A shipper called me, and she jokingly said, "Should I take away all of their business?" I told her, absolutely not, right? Like the biggest the kind of endorsement you can give to me is that like the business I was doing for you yesterday continues to, work well for you. And I did tell her, it's like, hey, they have to continue earning it every day, but as long as they do, keep giving it to them and grow with them. The only thing I'd ever ask for is an opportunity, right? If I have something else to offer you, that's it.
Yeah.
But that was a cool call to get. I was
gonna say, I'm sure that
I had a moment. I was like, "Dang, would you do that?" Like, I was like, "Are you kidding, or is this for real?" I don't know.
That's great. I really like how you answered it too, and I think that's you can see that in kind of how you're talking about your network, not burning any bridges. Saying no, keep the business. They need to earn it, but no, I mean it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah. And I think, hey, if you do that, it comes back to you 10 times. So it's the right way to operate.
100%. Well, guys, we're getting close to an hour. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on? Matt, were you about to ask a question? I mean, to cut you off.
No, I was actually, we think alike, maybe because we've done so many episodes. I was about to say the same thing. I was like, I've covered so much, but is there anything else we've, missed before we call it a show?
Gosh, this has been a fun conversation. I'm excited for, really changing what my primary focus has been. Let me ask you, I mean, I've talked about some of the things I've seen from tech sales that I've liked and have worked, but from your perspective, what have you guys seen from the tech side of our industry that you are really excited about maybe, or how about that framework? Like what are you guys seeing from the tech environment right now that you guys are excited about?
Well, I've kind of shifted a little bit on tech. I mean, I've told our owners of HD this, but when I came in and they were like, yeah, we're going to build a proprietary TMS and proprietary tracking, I was like, oh no, like if potential agents don't like this, I'm not going to be able to recruit anyone. I obviously knew Josh and knew Glenn. They're great people, but I was like, I really hope this, works out. And it's actually been a real selling point for us. So, I mean, I don't know, automation, and the pricing, I think will help a lot of people. Obviously, accounting, like what you talked about, is a big thing. I mean, I think there's just so many different ways to go. But I really liked your talking about the relationship aspect of the tech thing, because I was just thinking as you were saying that, I was like, Josh and Glenn, our owners, they get hundreds of messages from tech people a month, and I've had some people I've had a relationship with that I think have cool products, and not that we've signed them all, but I've led them to our owners to have a meeting. And I think a lot of tech providers, they have relationships with other people at the company too. It can be beneficial, selling that way instead of just, blasting out an email to 100 owners who probably are going to get your email. So, but that's my ramble on the topic.
For me, I'm most excited about automation, not really as bullish on AI. Even what you're talking about with Transflo, I did a kind of I don't want to say a demo, but I talked to somebody else with Triumph. They do a similar thing, product, and ran me through it. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Told him you're talking to the wrong guy because I have nothing to do with accounting, but I'll put him in touch with our CFO. And yeah, just little things like that. And going back to not replacing people, but rather, okay, this task that you're doing, if we can automate it and then we can, use your talents to leverage different project that growth. Because again, I used myself as an example, but how I was preoccupied by working this load board to produce this margin to do other things, then I automate it so then I can go do other things. So that excites me, and just kind of building it and working with ABRL. They've been able to do a lot of cool stuff with our input. I've never been able to the experience of saying, hey, like this is what we want, and they go and build it. I've always had these, pre-packaged, sell you the software, and then I don't know how to work the software, and I'm asking the like the service guys for help, and you just been there a week, like just kind of stuff like that. So I'm excited because we're getting more sophisticated at Black Box with technology. We're nowhere close to some of the more digital brokers, but it's exciting and it's new. So I'm excited about the efficiencies.
Yeah, I think so. Matt, one of the things I picked up on from you is that idea of the build versus buy dynamic, right? Because not a lot of folks can pull off what I think you guys are doing with a proprietary TMS and tracking system, right? So Glenn, Josh, Fran, like those guys are some of the few that can actually bring it to market and be successful. So I think that part's super exciting. But the bigger idea of just where do you find efficiencies and where can you find and plug in automations? I love that as a provider. Like I was always looking like, where can I go find an edge? What makes sense? to bring in, and now getting to bring that to brokers and carriers like that to me is super exciting. So yeah, this has been a good conversation. Hey, how about one last thing?
Yeah, go
Predictions on this year.
Man. I think
yeah, hold on. Bring the crystal balls out. No BS, right? Like, all right, make the prediction. We can circle back in 6 months and see what was right and what was wrong.
I think rates are going to be coming up end of March, sometime in March or April. I think we're going to start to see the market turn a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I used to get really caught up in just like the macro market, like what's going on, what's it going to look like over the last 6 months. What I've done is, now I'm not super ignorant to it, but I am like hyper focused on us and our organization and like our mindset and like what we're seeing with our customers. So for us, man, everybody, all like my new people, they have no idea. It's bull season all the time here. So I think it's going to be good for everybody. I think things will pick up, and we've been of that mindset for quite a while, and we've been able to grow through like all the the freight recession. So
legitimately one of my favorite answers of all time right there. Be way too busy watering your own grass to worry if the neighbor's lawn is any greener. It's you can't control the market, you can control the controllable. So look, it was a tough year, right? But the feedback that you were still seeing growth, I love it. And hey, if you could do that in the market that we've seen, and we know that the market's going to be changing, right? How it's going to change, what that looks like, we don't know, but you would be primed for success.
I appreciate you saying that. And then, yeah, even for me, at least when I was thinking about worrying about all this stuff, man, it just drives me crazy. And like, really, like I'd hear one take and then hear another, and it's like, nobody really knows, So it's like,
nobody really knows, but it's fun to guess.
Oh yeah, no, I think we all want to play like, armchair economists in this industry, which is fun.
Well, yeah, talking to a prospect, do it, but we don't know.
I'm not basing March or April, I should say, off anything that I know. I'm just basing it off of a bunch of people I've talked to and their guesses. So probably is really far off, but it's fun to guess.
No, I'm pretty similar to you. I think one, there's a lot of contract rates that are getting renewed right now with modest increases. I'm hearing now, I'm not really even hearing flat anymore, like low single digits and then pressing higher single digits, depending on the complexity of the business and the nature of your relationship, right? And also, how much of a rate cut did you take from last year? So maybe you're just getting trued up to where the market is. But what's interesting about that dynamic is there's more rate that needs to be captured by the service providers that won't be captured in bid season. So the exciting thing is there's going to be a lot of churn. I was talking to one transportation manager. She implemented her bid December 1, which is very, very early, right? But worked this year. And I asked her, I said, hey, what level of churn do you expect to see over the year? She told me 30%. Can you imagine, right? But she said, hey, I'm going to go capture, some cost savings for 6 months, and then I'll see who performed, and I'll reward those partners with the rate. So, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun year.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. It'll be eventful like everything else in this industry, man. Never a dull moment.
Well, thanks for coming on again, and we'll have to do this again sometime, maybe at the end of 2025. We can talk about
what did we get wrong, and what did I learn about selling to the industry? That'd be fun.
Yeah, 100%. We'll put it on the calendar. Well, Lars, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys.
Have a great weekend.
All right, man. How's it going?
That was fun. He's got a wealth of knowledge. That's crazy. His uncle is a world-class chess champion too. When he said 2,700, I was like, wow.
Well, man, he's like, my uncle's pretty good at chess, and then you're like, what's his rate? 27, and then brought up, he's like, oh, he's world champion. He's this famous commentator. Very, very humble way to present his uncle.
No wonder he's such a smart guy. He's got good genes with his uncle.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well, shout out to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card, 1978. They're hosting an event at Manifest Monday night. They're sponsoring an event, I should say. They're not hosting it. Great people, Patricia, Jessica, for brokerage or carriers, Black Box Logistics, Will's company, HG Ships, where I recruit agents for. Load Base, Will just talked about them before we went live. He did a demo today. Great product and get updates, live updates. You don't need to wait 15 minutes for a ping. Sales Dash, the OG sponsor, Freight Pacific CRM. We love Josh. Trio does all of our back end, a lot of our posts, a lot of our uploading to Spotify, YouTube. And obviously our banner sponsor, Tafts, they sponsored the Broker Carrier Summit. We got some news on that coming up next podcast. But yeah, great factoring company, Kansas City based. And we'll be back. We actually have a guest prepared. We were just talking about this pre-show. A lot of times Will and I wait till the week of to find our guests, but we actually have a guest prepared a week out this time, which is rare for us.
Yeah, but I kind of enjoy doing it week of because we get to capture somebody who maybe, made a splash or did something. But yeah, for once we do have it scheduled in advance. We even got it on. We have it on the calendar. So
yeah, that actually is a good point. Like, I think we're one of the few podcasts that probably, occasionally we'll schedule 2 or 3 weeks out, but most of the time it's like the same week. And I think we do get to have the advantage of kind of see what's going on and what's cool and kind of base it off that. Which, it's, and then we have had it burn us though, where we did a live show ourselves one week, but that was fun.
Yeah. The live show for Birmingham was tough. My office when you were here. But awesome. I'm glad it's forming up for you. I hope that you decide to hit the course and everybody tuned in. Stay tuned to the page. We'll announce our next guest for next Friday and Dog of the Week and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
All right. You as well.
All right. See ya.